We're poolside at the colorful Don Cesar Hotel in St. Petersburg, Florida, with Carol Burnett and James Garner on location for that new Robert Altman film, Health. And we have just been joined by a third star, a lady with the highest credentials, and with whom everybody here in the picture, I can safely say, has fallen in love. Two-time Oscar winner she is, Miss Glenda Jackson. You came a long way from Blackheath, England, to do this picture with Carol and Jim.
Well, that's why I came, actually.
To be in the picture with Carol?
Yes.
See, I told you, Jim. It's very... Had you ever worked with him before?
No, but I've known Carol for quite a long time. We've met in Los Angeles and various places, haven't we? And I'd always wanted to work with her, and there'd been plans before, but they'd never materialized.
You didn't do her show?
No. She was very kind enough to ask me a couple of times, but I was never free to do it. Yeah. So when this came along, it was a golden opportunity to work with them and with Altman.
Yes. Altman is a kind of a dream that, every actor's dream.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
He says the same thing about you.
Well, he is a bit of a crawler, but no,
what
he's
does that
wonderful.
Mean?
I don't know what's the American equivalent of a crawler.
A crawler, that sounds...
Flatterer.
Flatterer.
Overt flattery.
Oh, no, he said it to me. He didn't say it to you. Told me how wonderful you were. We've been defining the various words. Well, actually, we didn't need the health and energy and longevity through happiness and all that sort of thing.
Yes,
the title of the picture. But we were defining happiness, and you have an interesting definition of happiness that's a little different from ours.
Well, I don't really think I have a definition of happiness. I think certainly my society and also yours attaches far too much importance to happiness to the exclusion of unhappiness, and I think to have one without the other is really to have half a life. I mean, I think there's a Mediterranean saying, isn't it, that when a child is born that they wish it all the laughter and all the tears that is possible, and I think that's true. I think a pursuit of happiness, you're never going to catch it anyway, but to be afraid of unhappiness, I think is absurd.
Yeah, I guess they're in direct correlation to the other. You only know how happy you can be in relation to how happy you might have been.
Yes, and also it's something that you only ever remember. I mean, if you are genuinely happy, you're so busy being happy, you don't have time to think about it. It's something that you recall. But to have one without the other is like bread without butter or something.
Yes. There's a European actor who once told me that you Americans demand happiness, and what you really should settle for is an absence of misery. You agree?
Well, I think, in a way, you're victims of a constantly productive society. I mean, you're constantly being bombarded by people who make things to buy the things that they make, and they try to convince you that if you buy the things that they make, you will not only get the product but also a sizable proportion of happiness, and this isn't true. And
you'll be prettier and you'll be healthier, and he will want you.
And all that rubbish. Yes. And it's just not true. No.
You've never sought happiness per se.
Not as such, I don't think, no. I mean, I think we can often vary it for ourselves. I mean, when I began acting and was never, ever employed, I thought if only someone would give me a job, I would be happy. But and then somebody did give me a job, and then you're into the whole worry about whether you're doing it right. So in a way, I think people who... I once met a doctor, actually, and I said to him, you must be extremely busy. He was a very wealthy doctor, and he said, no. He said, I only ever see people who really want happiness pills. He said, I never see people who are ill, but they're people with a great deal of time and a great deal of money, and they don't know what to do with themselves, and they come to me for happiness pills. And he said, if I had one, I'd give them to them. But I think that's often the case. I think it's important to do things.
To do things.
To want to do something.
To want to do, as Jim says he doesn't care whether he works in a series or whether he works in a picture. That to be able to do something, he knows that he will go from one productive thing to another, whether he doesn't grieve about losing one because he'll be ready for another. You have to be ready to let work in, because work is part of it.
Oh, yes. I mean, one of the saddest things is when you see young people today who have no particular ambition to do anything or want to do anything. And that's, I think, the greatest gift is to have something you want to do. It doesn't matter whether you succeed at it either, but I think to have some goal, some aim that you wish to pursue.
Yeah, in reaching or searching for standards, in what priority would you put self-satisfaction and pleasing others?
I think you have to put pleasing yourself first, actually. I think, because I'm speaking now purely about acting, and it's been my experience with acting that people essentially would like me to do what they like me doing best last. And I think in that case, if you allow that to happen, then what you find is you're working for other people's standards or principles or whatever, and you lose your own. And if you lose that, then you lose, I think, an indigenous talent or attitude or whatever. And so you have to be fairly... I think it can sometimes be quite hard to pursue your own idea.
And you must do that and not be become a chameleon and colored by everyone else's opinion or everyone else's suggestions.
Absolutely.
To thine own self be true, Do you agree? Or do you want to challenge?
I totally agree. Challenge?
No. Okay.
Glenda? No way.
Never. Go on. Do you agree totally with that, Jim?
I've never argued with anything Glenda ever said.
No, she does.
Only because you're too busy arguing with Dick Cavett.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's not an argument. That's a one-sided conversation.
That's funny. You recently said there were two big dangers that constantly face actors. Do you remember saying that? Big dangers facing actresses.
Did I say what they were?
And I was hoping you would. That not to play it safe or to do exactly... Well, perhaps you defined that earlier.
Well, I think it's much more difficult for actresses than for actors in a sense, because the parts run out for actresses.
They do?
Yes, they definitely
Even
do.
today?
Oh, yes. I mean, you reach that sort of nadir, I think producers think, of being vaguely over 35, and there's really nothing left, they think, for women to say or to do. I mean, I don't know why middle-aged women should be thought boring. It seems to me that when a woman gets to 35 and over, it's when she's reaching a peak of whatever she is as an individual being, and has a lot to say.
I second that, by the way.
Yes, it's true, isn't it?
Gee, I quite agree with that.
You see, and they agree, too.
Actually, I would think that by the time you've reached 35 or over, you have something to say besides what's your sign.
Exactly.
Isn't that true? And after you've exhausted what you recognized about them from that, if you're 18, it seems to me, at least that's the line I use most of the time.
Well, I'll let you know as soon as I reach 35 how it feels.
I know. Well, listen, take a little tip from us, those of us who almost know. We have a scene of Glenda Jackson's from Health, and I'm willing to bet she doesn't play it safe in here. Miss Glenda Jackson and Health.
What are you doing, Willow?
Oh, Miss Garnell, I thought I was supposed to tape all of your speeches.
I've finished my speech.
Oh, I goofed, didn't I?
It's not important, Willow. Sit down.
But I don't want to goof. I want to be good at what I do, whatever that is.
Why did you volunteer for this work?
I don't know. I wanted to do something of value, and volunteering for something seems a lot more important than getting paid for it.
Why did you volunteer to work for me rather than, say, Esther Brill?
Oh, I asked her first. She didn't need anybody.
I see.
Should I get that?
You should.
We'll be right back. I'm here with Miss Glenda Jackson and Mr. Jim Garner and Miss Carol Burnett, and we're on the set and the scene of the Robert Altman motion picture Health, and Miss Jackson has just lit a cigarette, which I assume is the characteristic of the character you play in the picture.
Oh, it's characteristic of me. It's not characteristic of the character. Somebody said, did I take pills and jog and things like that? What was my contribution to health? And I said, I OD'd on coffee and cigarettes, and that's true.
What character do you play now? I think you're running for office, is that it?
Yes, I'm the opponent to the character Lauren Bacall plays, and I am the voice of vision.
Yes.
And so I have a great deal to say and not a single laugh through the entire film. I'm straight man to
that's
seven
not true.
Wrong.
Not true.
Wrong.
Is it wrong?
Because she was saying that last night to Bob. I heard you say, I want one laugh.
Yes, just one laugh line
Just
I would
one,
like. They
yeah.
promised me one, but whether I'll ever get to shoot it, I don't know.
But there'll be
No,
laughs around what it is you're saying.
I'm exaggerating slightly. It's terrific. It's a
He
terrific film
says
to be
you
in.
are the Adlai Stevenson in
That's
this motion
right,
picture.
yes,
you
which
know.
is a heavy burden for an English actress to carry, I feel.
But he got a lot of laughs.
Did he?
Yes. You have your children here with you?
Well, I've only got one, and he's here, yes, yes. He's loving it.
He's adorable.
Thank
Has he
you.
had a good time?
Marvelous, yes, yes.
Is this one of the first times you've been able to bring him with you on location?
It's the first time that the school's been good enough to let me keep him out for as long as I'm here. He has been with me before, but only ever in school holiday time. Mind you, I haven't worked that much out of England, really.
Yeah.
But he's here for the full 6 weeks, and he's
That's
very
good.
good. He does his schoolwork in the morning and then swims and plays football in the afternoon.
Of course, if he were here, he'd be on vacation. You know that.
Oh, well, it
we
is
managed
really.
to do that. You couldn't bring your children.
No, they're still in school.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
School's still on. And Jim, your kids here? Because all of Bob Altman's children are wandering around. Betty has.
mine are a little too old. The one is in Los Angeles working, the oldest girl, and the other one's going to USC. She's in the film school there.
Yeah. That's great. They're both involved in.
They've both been on a lot of locations, a lot
Yeah.
of places. They're not going to miss this one.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I used to try to take mine everywhere, and whenever I had to go anywhere to sing. I think it's kind of important that they see what it is you do, and that it isn't all play, that like it looks like on the screen. May I ask you one semi-heavy question, and maybe we'll get the laugh in here, I don't know. What's your image of Glenda Jackson?
I don't think I have an image, really. I mean, I'm often asked this question, and
Are you?
Yes, and
to be different.
sorry about that.
That's okay.
But if I mean, I just think I'm very dull. I mean, me as me is very dull. I wouldn't-
Dull?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't pay to see me doing anything. I mean, I think me acting sometimes is worth paying money to see, but I have no personality, it seems, that is worth anybody's hard-earned money to see.
I mean, you're making a joke. What do you mean?
No, I mean that. I mean, we said we won't say what our sign is, but I mean, I'm Taurus, and Taurus are, you know, dependable and reliable and down to earth and punctual and essentially dull. I mean, we're a very boring earth sign. Well, you're not dull, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
you're
Taurus.
on the cusp.
You're
You must be
Taurus?
on the cusp.
Yes, no, well,
But I would have said essentially, yes.
essentially dull.
Yeah.
Well, I think of myself as being essentially dull.
Well, I would
Pisceans-
argue with you.
Yeah, no, do you think of yourself as being dull?
totally.
I see. Do
I've
you?
started a trend. You're all trying to
Yeah.
muscle in
I
on
mean,
my
if we
life.
keep talking like this, they're going to switch the channel.
No.
No, but it's funny. The reason I'm asking is because there comes a time when we have talked so much and have done the interviews and we have given so much of ourselves onto the screen, and I'm talking about just the little screen, but you're talking about the big one. You wonder who's left behind there, or whether what it is that enchants people is what they see on the screen, or if that you begin to have doubts about that person.
But I think for you it's harder than for someone like me, for instance, because I'm always playing somebody else. I mean, I always
Yeah.
have another character to hide behind.
Well, what I'm
I
saying
never
is the
have
one
to-
who's hiding there, you think of her as being dull. I think she's stimulating. Or she
I do too.
Yeah, I do
Well,
too. But I mean, with that accent, how
wasn't-
could you be dull?
I didn't do anything about this accent. It comes with the place
Oh.
you're born.
You have an image of Hollywood?
Well, the first time I went to Hollywood, I thought it was like a set waiting to be struck. I expected people to rush in with big movers, and there's no middle to it, and I can never
Yeah.
find the center of it. And I think it's a great place if you're working, and not a great place if you're not.
We'll be right back.
We believe in truth.
We're here on location, this fascinating resort hotel. Oh, here comes Betty Bacall. Oh, Lauren Bacall is entering. Here she comes. You won the election over Glenda. She doesn't know yet. Lauren Bacall has joined us at the Don Cesar. Welcome.
Did you hear?
Yes, did you hear all those people? You're running for office.
What is this?
What is it? It's something you're not supposed to touch.
Growing in front of me.
It has to do with health. Don't you know that what is it? That's a chrysanthemum is healthy. Oh, see what goes on. Isn't movies fun? You people, and that never happens in television except behind the scenes, according to what I hear. She has a bestseller book that she wrote all by herself, Lauren Bacall, by myself, and she's had a chance. Isn't that a wonderful book? Everybody's read it.
She walks, she talks,
She walks, she talks, she writes, yes. No, but Betty, the book held such a, it struck such a chord with all of us, and I had so much empathy with it. And you have talked about the book on every show. I choose to believe that what we found out about each other was different, but
yeah, it's special. It's
yeah,
always different.
Of
It
course,
is.
of course. But the book has a very special niche in your life. I believe. I think it has had more impact than you originally anticipated it would.
Had more
Impact on your life than
writing the book.
yeah, writing the book, and now after having dealt with it on every program and having seen the phenomenal success, it must have affected.
Oh, it did. It did. It's, I mean, well, the experience of writing it clearly was extraordinary because it is very cathartic, and there you are spilling your guts on the pages, you know, and then you, of course, edit out some of it because it's better that not everyone sees all of that.
Of course.
But it was an extraordinary experience, and the success of it has been wonderful in many areas because it is, I haven't had this much attention paid to me ever.
Except in this picture.
And I
where
accept.
Yeah, you accept. Well, in this picture, you play an unusual character who's going to get
Oh,
some.
really? If you
Everybody's
think an
gonna challenge you.
83-year-old virgin is unusual, I guess I do. But I'm living my part.
Are you really?
Yeah.
You swear?
I go on the nod every other minute.
Yeah. Funny, yes, that's a funny bit. Is this the first Altman film you've ever made?
This is my competition.
She's your what?
My competition in the
A
film.
competition. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Your rivals for the office of president. And I don't quite understand. You're from
Of
the
the Health
President's
Convention.
Physical Fitness Council. And
I don't either. Would you tell me what it's about?
oh, I think it's just to fool around with Jim Garner, but poolside. That's all.
As I said.
Yeah, but Garner works for me.
Oh, does he? That's right.
Yes.
He's your press agent.
Yes.
We should all be so lucky.
No,
Oh,
you ain't kidding.
Can I ask you a question I've asked everybody else out here? What's your definition of happiness, or have you one?
My definition of happiness is I hope I'll know it when I see it.
Oh, yeah. Recognize it while it's there, and don't look around for something else.
Yeah, no, but I don't know what it is. I mean, it seems to me that when we're born, I suppose at the beginning of our lives, we're happy. I suppose when you're very young, you're happy because you don't know any better.
Yeah.
But I don't really know what happiness is. I mean, I think that if you are aware at all of what goes on in the world and around you, I don't know what happy is. Happy is always, am I going to get another job? You know, if I get a job, I guess I'm happy.
At
Until the
this
next
moment.
moment, yes.
Other times in your life, is it, are we going to stay together? Is this going to be, I mean, there are other, happiness are many, is many
Yes.
different aspects of
Yes, there
living.
are, but I don't know what it is to be genuinely happy for any extended period of time because
Yeah.
I do have a mental problem, of course. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
the same as everybody
Might
else's, I
be the
realize.
absence of tragedy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you have not read my life.
I've read every word of it, and you know it.
Betty, you think happiness is anticipation or achievement?
Well, I think a sense of accomplishment or achievement in life is tremendously rewarding. I think it makes you feel good. Happy to me has always meant, every kind of happiness at once, which I don't think exists. Emotional and mental and physical
Having it all
well-being.
together, as
Yes,
they say.
which, as we know,
Yeah.
is not possible.
Well, I think that'd be a
Except, of
vegetable.
course,
Once
Carol
you get
knows what it's all about.
No, but if you really get it all together, I mean, what have you got to look forward to? Or you want to keep thinking there's a, wonderful
Yeah,
little
right.
carrot on there?
We don't want it to get too perfect.
No.
I think
Right.
the mistake is in looking forward.
Exactly.
And in looking back. We so seldom wake up and smell the roses right now.
Yeah.
It's when you're doing something, a thing is tedious or joyful according to what you bring to it at that moment. And so forget about, am I going to be happy tomorrow, or was I happy yesterday, or gee, I wish it was like it was yesterday, and it's just got to be great tomorrow. But in the meantime, today's slipped by. And I think that's a big fault that we all have.
Yeah. The only thing we've really got going for us you can count on, if you're here, is time. And use that, make that time the best time possible, even if it's something that you're doing that's unpleasant, you're not particularly enjoying at the moment, like
Yes,
Getting it-
if you're stuck in traffic, you know, you can grouse about it, or you can try to remember an old Cole Porter lyric. And make it work for you.
Sure.
Some way you can change it around.
Yeah.
And if you have to go to the dentist, and with my teeth, that's a tragedy. You think of something else and make that time work for you.
You have an incredible amount of energy. Does that come from the yoga that you do, the exercise?
I am probably the laziest person I know when I'm not working or doing something that I'm enjoying. I like to just kind of loll about and watch old movies on TV.
Oh, yeah.
And so forth. But when I'm enjoying what I'm doing, yes, I do have a lot of it. We all do.
Yeah.
If you love it.
Because Betty has incredible energy.
Does she?
I would say,
What have I got?
energy.
Energy?
Energy.
You've never-
Manic.
Makes you hard of
Manic.
hearing. Energy.
Manic energy.
Manic. Well, that's
I've
good.
always had manic energy.
What does that mean? That
It
mean you
means that I'm compulsive. I have to keep moving. Maybe to stay alive, I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
to make everything work.
Yeah.
But I've always had the capacity to do an awful lot. And I mean, I sag, you know, if I'm up early in the morning and I'm charging around all day, I sag toward the end of the day, and then I get my second wind, and then if I'm still awake at midnight, I get my third, and then look out, I mean, I can
Well,
stay up
yeah.
all night. I'm
Eat an apple.
every day.
No, I mean,
Get
like
to
around
bed by
4
3.
o'clock. I'm not kidding. Eat an apple or fresh fruit, because
then?
that's usually a drop in your sugar.
I have,
For
yeah, I
energy.
get that low ebb late in the afternoon because I'm one of those early risers, and I really like to keep it. And I'm like Carol when I'm not working. I don't want to do one thing but just lie around and watch television. I can't even get interested in a good book, even if it's yours, because I want
Now,
to.
just a minute.
I know, isn't that terrible? What an admission.
You've done it now.
It's my loss, I know. But I read it, and I love it. But all I'm saying is that we all reach these wonderful peaks of energy, and I think that's like happiness. I don't think you absolutely have to have them. I think you have to do what feels good at the moment.
Yes, I think using yourself
Yeah.
is probably the most satisfying
Yeah.
feeling you can have. At least for me it is. The fact that I'm using myself mentally and physically, which usually means work.
Yeah. Betty, or Kate, I want to get to that because you've written the book now. You have done wonderful movies. You're doing a wonderful movie now. Broadway show, great satisfaction in all of those. What now? What do you want to do after this picture?
I want to do everything again.
Everything all over again. If I had a chance to
And
do
a few other things besides. Yeah.
Yes. Can you think of any that you'd like to lay on us here?
Well, I want to, I'd like to see some places that I haven't seen in the world. And I would just, I don't know if I'll ever write another book. I'd like to be able to write one. I suppose eventually I might try. But I just want to be, I just want to,
Do things.
I want to function. I want to work in the theater a lot more if I can. And I want to work in films. I want to take advantage of this cycle. If this cycle
Yes.
continues on the upswing, I can keep busy for at least another year and a half.
We'll be right back.
Fan product.
Is this the first time you've worked with Glenn and Glenda?
It's the first time any of us have worked together.
Jim and Carol? You've never worked
no,
with Jim and Carol?
never. Or Ted and Alice.
Ted? And Bob Altman.
No.
Have you ever worked with Bob
Never
before?
worked with Bob Altman. This is a
Oh.
first. This is a first for me. Carol is the only one who's worked with Bob before,
Oh,
I think.
yes. She got my part in the other picture.
Yeah.
Probably's going to get my part in a lot of
True.
I know, I heard that.
You don't
I
understand.
called Dinah to
Yeah.
do the Mother of the Bride in a wedding, and she didn't return his call, so I got it. Thank you.
You see?
My, sorry. I could have been doing this, and she could have been saying that, you know, what I...
You see?
Yeah.
You could have been in the pool all
I
morning.
could have been in
See,
the pool
that's
all
fate.
morning.
That's destiny.
know it. See, that's the way it
karma,
is.
kismet.
Tell me about drama,
And all
kismet.
that.
I know it. That's what I keep telling myself. I've been saying that all morning long, just reassuring myself. Do you see the dailies every day?
No,
You
I
don't?
don't. I prefer to see them if I see them when I'm not in them.
When you're
because-
not in them?
Yes.
You don't want to check up on yourself?
No, I prefer not to. I have no judgment about myself. I have no sense of objectivity about myself. I don't like the way I look, the way I sound, what I do. And it is better I don't see them because
Yeah.
I may be right.
Yeah.
Then what?
No.
Oh, doctor. No.
If you were, you
have
wouldn't
to
be on the
trust-
cycle.
Listen, if you trust your director, then you've got to leave it in his hands. He doesn't
Exactly.
want any of us to be bad. He doesn't want any of us
No.
to look bad. So, I mean, unless there's a specific reason to see them.
But, I mean, you don't want to check up on you. I mean, Jim, don't you go every once in a while to help yourself a little bit just to see? Is it something I'm doing I'm not crazy about? No?
No, I never go.
How about you, Glenda?
No, I don't like seeing them
You
either.
don't like
No.
seeing?
I've gone. I went last night because I wanted to just see, because I don't like to dive into water. I don't like to put my head underwater, and I had to do it
Yes.
a couple of days ago, and I was terrified. And actually, the first dive I did looked pretty good,
looked great,
and then I
yeah.
had to do a second one to make it look awkward. And so I'm going to ask Mr. Altman to give me that piece of film on the first one so I can show my children. And it was a funny scene. I had a good time watching it. There was a tomato that jumped in the pool.
Oh, you're the... And
I mean, a
kept
man
whirling?
dressed as a
Yeah.
tomato.
Kept-
And
There was some tomatoes jumping in the
No,
pool.
it
there
was
was
a
a couple of
tomato.
Really
bananas
cute
and a few
banana.
fruits, you know, but I want to say.
Yeah, Orson Welles once said that when actors go to dailies, they generally have a tendency to fall in love with one profile or the other. Was there either one of your sides you would choose?
What?
Yeah, I mean, one of your profiles.
A profile? My profile?
Well, why not?
Well, it's...
You have a good side.
Yes, I do. It's the back side. Actually, I'm very similar to Dolly Parton in many ways.
Do you care to point out any?
Left
Where?
armpit.
Oh, I see. Do you ever you watch Betty's movies on TV?
I watch Betty, I watch Glenda, I watch Garner.
Yeah.
I occasionally, if I make a mistake, watch Cavett.
He's
You know, I
not
didn't
here
know
to
he
defend himself, but he's standing somewhere around
He's
here.
become the
hovering.
whipping boy
I
of this
know
whole
he is.
Yes.
They have given him such a bad time. Jim really wants a confrontation today. Do you ever watch your old movies, Betty?
No.
You
Almost
don't?
never. No, I don't want to see how good I used to look and then have to look in the mirror the next day, for God's sake. Are you kidding?
How about you, Glenda?
No, I don't think I've ever seen any of my films on television. No.
But you would go to previews and things like that?
Oh,
where
yes,
they-
I
yeah.
always see them once. Yes,
Yeah.
they always show them. And I watch everybody else's films on television.
Do you rule out doing television?
Acting on television, yes.
You
Yes.
wouldn't act because you were magnificent in the series that we saw.
Well, thank you.
Elizabeth.
And that was a very rare opportunity to be given, to actually do a 9-hour film, which is what
Yes.
it worked out to be. But I never understood the point of acting for a television camera, ever. I mean,
Why?
well, because you always end up working for the studio clock. And I have, well, I suppose it's a rather inflated idea of the value of actors, in a sense. I think we're better than... we deserve more than to be slaves of a time machine.
Of a time machine. That's true. I had the feeling in that you had eons in which to develop those exquisite moments because you moved from a very young girl to a very old, embittered, sad woman. It was
Right,
just,
yeah.
you know,
Well, we
it's a
did. We had
classic.
7 months to
Yeah,
do it.
yeah,
But
well-
that's very rare.
Oh, sure.
Very rare.
Sure. And you rule out completely doing a motion picture for television.
Oh, no,
They do-
I wouldn't mind if it was shot like a film for television, because I enjoy working for a film camera, but I've always said, and I still believe, that television cameras are just as happy photographing each other as they are of any person you put in front of it.
Really?
Whereas a film camera really is interested in you. But they're not. I mean,
You're not interested, you're just interested to photograph each other?
those cameras are just as happy looking at each other as they are as people. I've always felt this.
We'll probably cry at that
They are
thought.
genuinely inanimate objects, not the people behind them.
I see.
But
They are. Well, cameras and lights sometimes look like the enemy, and they turn out to be a friend, we hope. We'll be right back, right after this.